Patriot, a name long regarded as the symbol of Western air defense, a sophisticated system sold to the public as an impenetrable shield. But on the battlefields of Ukraine, that myth is being tested again. In the Dnipropetrovsk region, near the village of Svetlogorsk, reports claim a Patriot position was detected. Its radar switched on, its signals were intercepted, and once the coordinates were locked, a Russian ballistic missile, an Iskander-M, was launched. Not just any missile, but one traveling at hypersonic speed, with terminal maneuvers and even electronic decoys. A single, precise strike, enough to turn a defensive complex worth hundreds of millions of dollars into a burning wreck on the ground. Patriot was delivered to Ukraine with great promises. Washington, Berlin, and The Hague supplied these systems with the narrative: Ukraine will be safer. But the reality was different. The number of batteries was extremely limited. Some were only enough to protect one major city or a single critical facility. And here lies the core problem. Patriot is not only expensive to buy, but also to operate. Each PAC-3 MSE interceptor costs up to $4 million. Compare that with an Iranian-made Shahed drone costing tens of thousands, or even an Iskander missile, which is far cheaper than the strategic targets it can destroy. Ukraine is relying on a golden shield, but finds itself trapped in an economic war it cannot win. When a single cheap drone is destroyed with an interceptor worth millions, who is really winning? Yes, Ukraine may eliminate one threat, but Russia at the same time drains Kiev's stockpile of high-value interceptors Ukraine cannot produce on its own. That forces Kiev into deeper dependence on Western resupply. Resupply that is slow, limited, and uncertain. The Iskander-M is not just another tactical ballistic missile. It was designed specifically to punch through modern air defense systems. At Mach 6 to Mach 7, it leaves Patriot with only seconds to react. In those few seconds, radar must detect the target, the computer must calculate its path, the crew must authorize fire, and the interceptor must launch. But Iskander does not fly like a simple target. It can perform sharp maneuvers in its terminal phase, diving suddenly, swerving at hypersonic speeds, even releasing decoys to confuse the radar. The AN/MPQ-65 radar of Patriot is advanced, yes, but it is not infallible. If the decoys succeed, interceptors are wasted on false targets while the real missile slams into its mark. And more than that, some variants of Iskander carry cluster warheads. That means a single missile can release dozens of submunitions, each one becoming a separate threat. How can Patriot cope with that when even one missile often forces the launch of 2 or 3 interceptors? And when the stockpile runs out, what is left? Nothing but an overpriced target waiting to be struck. Every time Russia claims to have destroyed a Patriot, Ukrainian officials rush to deny it. Air Force spokesperson Yuri Inat repeatedly insists the damage is partial, that the system remains operational. But the public understands, in modern warfare, propaganda is as important as firepower. Ukraine cannot afford to admit that the West's most advanced weapon can be taken out so easily. Such an admission would crush morale and damage Kiev's image abroad. Yet actions speak louder than words. President Zelensky continues to demand more Patriot systems. If what they already had was truly enough, why plead so desperately for more? Here lies the contradiction. Kiev wants to project strength, but its constant appeals for new Patriots reveal weakness. The gulf between public narrative and battlefield reality grows wider with each strike. So the question must be asked, is Patriot really a solution, or is it just a political symbol? The West wants to show support for Ukraine to prove that its cutting-edge technology makes a difference. But on the battlefield, Patriot is pushed beyond its limits. Often deployed too close to the front lines, Ukraine hopes it will shield troops and critical sites. But that makes it an easy target. Once the radar goes active, its signal can be tracked. Russian satellites, drones, and electronic intelligence close in, and in minutes, an Iskander is launched. The outcome? A defense system worth hundreds of millions reduced to ashes. And Russia doesn't need to do this every day. 1 or 2 successful strikes are enough. Each loss forces the West to deliver costly replacements. Money is drained. Time is wasted. And faith in Patriot as an impenetrable shield begins to crumble. If Russia's claims are true, the destruction of a Patriot battery is not just a tactical loss. It undermines Ukraine's case to the world. How can Kyiv argue that Western weapons are decisive if even the most advanced systems can be destroyed in a single strike? For Moscow, each successful hit is a double victory. Tactically, they eliminate a dangerous air defense asset. Strategically, they send a message. Even America's finest weapons are not immune. That message is aimed at Ukraine, at the West, and at NATO itself. And the longer this war drags on, the clearer Ukraine's dilemma becomes. They need patriots to survive. But each time one is struck, their dependence on the West deepens. Strategically, that makes them weaker, not stronger. Patriot was built to counter ballistic missiles, but it was never flawless. With too few units, extremely costly interceptors, and radar positions easy to track, Ukraine is placing too much faith in too little. They want to assure their people the skies are safe. Yet on the ground, the truth is far more complex. Iskander doesn't just challenge the technical limits of Patriot, it tears apart the political narrative built around it. Ukraine may deny, insisting damage is only partial. But the constant pleas for more systems from the West expose the painful reality. Patriot is not enough, and it may never be enough to withstand Russia's relentless missile barrages. This is the face of modern war. Expensive technology can be undone by clever strikes. There is no such thing as a perfect air defense, and the more Ukraine clings to Patriot as a symbol of strength, the greater the psychological impact each time another system goes up in flames. That is the harsh truth few want to admit. Behind every claim, every denial, every narrative lies a battlefield where myths are shattered and where trust in impenetrable shields burns away with every strike.